Hi, everyone. I'm Mark James. Welcome once again to Hornet Spotlight. We're pleased to introduce to you our latest inductee into the Beech Grove Hall of Fame. Our first inductee from the class of 1957, we welcome Duncan Murdoch. Welcome back to Beech Grove High School.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and I feel very honored to be a part of this.
Well, I guess the most obvious question would be, going back to 1957, I would assume Beech Grove High School's changed a bit.
Quite a bit. In fact, you've changed locations on me, so I had a little trouble getting here this morning.
Well, talk a little bit about what life was like at Beech Grove High School in 1957.
Well, gee, this was the middle of the 50s and the rock and roll age, and Elvis Presley and all the other popular celebrities. We all drove around in used 1946, 1940 model cars, and we stripped them down and tried to make them look racy. We spent a lot of time at the TP out on Meridian Street. Right. We were all trying to learn how to dance without falling down, and of course athletics played a big part in our life at that point. We were a very small school. We only had about, I'd say, 65 or 70 seniors in our class.
That's unbelievable. So what sports were you involved in when you were here?
I was involved with both, football, basketball, and track until I got cut in basketball.
Well, and it's interesting, the number of high schools that existed at that time compared to now.
Exactly, exactly. I'm not sure how many schools have consolidated here in the county, but outside the county there were just hundreds of schools, small schools that enjoyed their athletic programs, and of course we all look back at what happened at Milan, and we all, I think, we're inspired by the Milan Indians, and always hoped that Beech Grove one day would knock off Addix or Shortridge in the sectional tournament, but we never quite got there.
Did you have a particular focus in academics at that time, or did it occur to you at that stage of your life what you might want to do once you got to the college level?
Both of my parents, fortunately for me, had attended college, and so I grew up knowing that I probably would go to college at some point in time. But I have to tell you that in my senior year, like most seniors, even most seniors today, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of confusion, a lot of disinformation out there about colleges and universities.
I think you at least had an idea of where you wanted to do it, because upon graduation in 1957, you landed at Hanover College.
I did. I could have gone to IU. I might have even been happy at a place like Purdue or Ball State, where some of my friends attended. But I wanted to go to a small college because athletics were important to me. And I felt I could play football at Hanover, even though I was pretty small. But I knew I also could probably run track as well. And I did that. And had a great career at Hanover, both in the academics and in the athletic arena.
Talk a little bit about you ended up in admissions at Hanover College upon graduation. At what point did you start to dial in on what you might want to do professionally at Hanover?
Well, my degree at Hanover it is a liberal arts degree, but I had a major in business. My dad had spent most of his professional career in insurance and in sales, so I thought, well, business is a good field to go into. I also dabbled, though, in economics and studio art. So my career path, my senior year at Hanover, I was pretty set to go with one of the major corporations and go into sales. And this is really an interesting story. I was getting ready to pole vault at our conference track meet, by the last meet of our senior year, and I was tapped on the shoulder by the dean of admission. He said, "I'd like you to work for me next year." And I turned and I said, "Well, Dr. Blanding, let me see if I can make this, and we'll talk later." Well, to make a long story short, they hired me.
But did you make the jump?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Actually, at that later when the height got higher, the jumps were a little harder to make.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption. We had to get that important piece of information on, obviously.
But anyway, I went to work for Hanover, thinking I'll try this for 2 years. I was flattered by the fact that my college would ask me to represent them on the admission circuit. And then I got an opportunity to move to, at that time, Rose Polytechnic Institute in Terre Haute, Indiana, and I took that advantage and moved to Rose and spent 19 years there.
Similar size, similar scope in terms of the schools, talking about Rose-Hulman and Hanover. Right. So there had to be a comfort level there. You and I were talking before we started taping the show. During your time, those of you that are familiar with Rose-Hulman, Dr. Sam Hulbert was the president at Rose-Hulman University for years. And it is though, I don't know what your religious convictions are, folks, but I'm a firm believer that God anointed Sam Hulbert to be at Rose-Hulman, and talk about that experience and being there for just a great man and a legendary university president.
When I arrived at Rose in '63, I think we had a total student body of about 500. We were struggling to make our classes, to get enough incoming freshmen to make the budget work. The gentleman there at the helm was Dr. John Logan at the time, and this man was a visionary, and he moved us into a capital campaign. He helped us change the curriculum. He helped us to get national recognition, and then when he left, Sam Hulbert stepped in and just picked it up from there, and we never looked back. When I left Rose in '82, we had just landed a major gift from the Olin Foundation. That built a brand new building for us. We expanded our residence halls. Our athletic programs were to be highly respected and in some cases feared, where we were somewhat almost a laughing, almost a joke back in the late 50s and early 60s. There was one year there where we didn't score, well, we scored one touchdown in our season, and that was on a bad call. So, and then the caliber of our students increased under Hulbert. Our athletic programs improved, our job placement doubled and tripled, and the reputation of the school became national.
They almost made the NCAA Division III tournament in football this year.
They did.
Yeah, they finished second in the conference.
Is that right?
Well, actually, they finished in the tie with Franklin for the conference championship. Franklin won the head-to-head, so Mike Leonard's ball club went on to the final. So that tells you, exactly, as you suggest, the balance that they've struck there between athletics and academics. And I remember at one time, we were preparing to do on radio Division III basketball between Rose-Hulman and Centre College. To show you the importance they place on academics there, they had to practice at Hulman Center at Indiana State because Shook Fieldhouse was being used for final exams. They could not practice basketball in their own gym because they were being used for final exams. Admissions was your focus, both at Hanover and at Rose, before you left to go to California. How has the focus and the scope of admissions changed from that period of time to now?
Well, back in the early 60s, we had to put boots on the ground. We had to get out and visit the high schools. And we made it a point to try to visit every high school in the state of Indiana. This was at Rose-Hulman now. And we felt that, hey, if there's a valedictorian at a high school, we wanted a shot at that valedictorian. Of course, Purdue, because of the cost differential, was our major competition. So we really hustled. We not only did we cover Indiana, but we visited the contiguous states. And we got to the point where we increased our applications up into the 1,500, 1,600 range for a freshman class of just 250 or 300. So the level of selectivity really went through the roof in the late 60s, early 70s. And then, of course, Hulbert carried that on well after I left in 1982, to the point now today where I think they're getting 3,000 or 4,000 applications for just about 400 freshman slots.
Yeah, and they, of course, they went co-ed several years ago.
They went co-ed right after I left. Yes, they've been I think successful at that.
So, 1982, you decided to head west.
Yeah, 82. Our children were, I think we had a 7th grader at that time, or an 8th grader, and maybe a 6th grader, and I had an opportunity to go to a place called Harvey Mudd College, a place that very few Midwesterners knew very much about. But Harvey Mudd was easily one of the premier engineering schools on the West Coast. It was part of the Claremont College cluster, in which there are 7 colleges right now. But Harvey Mudd was the engineering science school of that group, and I was there for from 82 until 90. And we were very successful in getting Harvey Mudd kind of a place on the map. We did some pretty risky marketing techniques. We also did it at Rose, too. We did some interesting marketing techniques at Rose that helped us get the attention of the high school populations.
Was it a bit of a culture shock or a lifestyle change moving from Terre Haute, Indiana to California?
Absolutely. We were fortunate in when we were in Terre Haute to have, I don't know, we had, I think, 20 acres of ground down south. We built a home back there, built a second home back there, and we had the woods and our dogs and our kids. When we moved to California, it was culture shock. We had a difficult first year, I think, settling in and getting adjusted, particularly the kids. I was busy, of course, all the time, but I think Mary, my wife, took up the brunt of the adjustment to the West Coast.
You stayed at Harvey Mudd College until 1988, then moved on?
Actually, I was in admission until '88, and then they asked me to become the VP for development, for fundraising, and I did that for 2 years. I didn't enjoy development as much as admission work. The match wasn't good. And then in '90, I was contacted by USC. They were looking for a new dean of admission, and I always told myself I would never work for a large university because I'd been at Hanover and Rose, and then Harvey Mudd. Harvey Mudd was actually smaller than Rose-Hulman, and I couldn't see myself at a major university, but I did make that jump in 1990.
USC.
Yep, the Trojans.
That is quite a jump.
Now, you talk about culture shock. You know, at Rose or at Harvey Mudd, I could go in the morning and say, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to put X number of pieces of mail in the mail today, this afternoon, and it'll be gone, it'll be done. If I did that at USC, there's a process to go through, and it was an amazing bureaucracy. Very, very different than a small place. That we had 28,000 students at SC. I was responsible for the undergraduate admission program there. But still, a freshman class of 3,000 versus a freshman class of 150 at Harvey Mudd, or 300 at Rose-Hulman was amazing in its contrast.
Can you say that you enjoyed it, or would you say that it was different?
A lot of politics, a lot of stress, but exciting, very exciting. To walk around a campus and be tapped on the shoulder by football coach John Robinson and say, hey, come take a ride with me. I want to talk to you for a while. Things that, you know, I used to sit and watch on Rose Bowl weekends and watch Robinson coach, and I suppose I was guilty of a little hero worship at that point in my career, and I was excited to be on a big campus and feel like I was making a contribution to a great university.
From there, you went to Franklin Olin College, the School of Engineering?
Yes. Franklin W. Olin College was a brand new school in 2000. In fact, we didn't have a campus, we didn't have faculty, we didn't have a curriculum, and I was the second person hired. I was responsible for anything external to the campus, meaning marketing, student recruitment, corporate relations, neighborhood relations, community relations. But my main focus there was on enrollment, trying to get the school off the ground in terms of recruiting a high-end, very competitive freshman class.
Was it located there in California?
Olin College of Engineering is located in Needham, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we purchased the ground from Babson College, which is right there in Wellesley. So this was an opportunity for me to put a capstone on my entire professional career by helping to start a brand new place.
So you relocated from California to Massachusetts?
We went back to Massachusetts, and I told Mary that we would be there only 5 years, but we got off to a slow start in getting the campus finished. So we got off to a slow start in recruiting students as well. So we wanted to be there as long as until the first class graduated. So that took 7 years, and then we packed it up and went back to California.
When you said you told her you'd only be there 5 years, she's off camera, folks. It drew a little bit of a response. It was tolerant and loving at the same time. So, you know, that's...
Well, our family was still back in California, and we missed them tremendously, and the grandkids were beginning to come along at that point.
Sure.
We wanted to get back to California.
So this year, 2013, you spent some time at the University of Oregon?
I did. Last April and May, the vice president for enrollment at Oregon called me and said, I'd like you to come up and be my interim dean of admission for a couple of months while we're doing a search for a new admission person. The person that called me, I met him when I was at USC. He was a registrar at USC and then later became vice president for enrollment at Indiana University. But his home is in Portland and that area, so the Oregon Ducks lured him away, and then he had me come up there for two months last spring. That was a lot of fun. That is an amazing university. I had never had any real contact with Eugene or that part of the country, but I came away with highly impressed with the University of Oregon and the people that I met there.
So can we call you retired but still doing consulting work from time to time?
Yeah, I'm essentially retired, although I still do admission work for Olin College, about 3 months each fall. I'm back doing exactly what I did my first year at Hanover College. I'm visiting high schools and I'm interviewing students, which to me was the most fun part of college admission. I didn't care as much for the budget process or the hiring and the firing and the administrative part of it. I always regarded myself as a recruiter.
So I think having you here is a very valuable tool for us. What piece of advice would you give freshmen, sophomores, and even juniors in getting themselves prepared to make that decision?
Right. Well, students today need to know that they absolutely have to be prepared as best they can. It's competitive to get into the top schools, or even in the second tier schools, it's becoming more and more competitive. And if they take the attitude that I took when I was at Beech Grove, which was kind of, well, I'll get around to it when I have a chance. I'm not going to bust my tail too much. Their options are going to be limited. However, that said, there are plenty of opportunities for students to step into the college arena and do good work if they've been in a good high school under good teaching, and if they'll just take advantage of the opportunities that are available to them, they'll be in a position where they have some choices to make at the time that they select their college or their university. Most students today, many students today that I talk to have applied to 7 or 8 or 10 different colleges. I think that if a high school student will do their research, and of course they've got the internet available to them, which is
Sure.
a tremendous resource that we didn't have available. If they do their research properly, they really only need to apply to 5 or 6 schools. And try not to ruin their senior year by being stressed out and being on pins and needles. This does not have to be the most important decision that they make in their lives.
Well, and I would say as part of that decision-making process, I think it would be imperative to not only look for something that aligns with what your interest may be academically, but certainly a good fit in terms of your lifestyle, your needs and wants and things of that nature. That's why I think it's important to compare 2 or 3 different schools of varying sizes.
Right. No, a lot of students will tell me what they think they want to do, but they're beginning to hedge their bets a little bit, and I think that's good.
Sure.
Most students should enter into a freshman, sophomore program with some idea perhaps of what their strengths are, but also leave the door open for other opportunities that they've never had a chance to exploit. You never know when you're going to sit in a class with an amazing teacher that turns you from a history major into a mathematician, or from a computer science person into an economist. And that's kind of what happened to me. I had a very, very good economics instructor at my undergraduate level, and I decided to minor in economics before I left Hanover, and eventually I got a master's degree in economics.
So lastly, the only member of the class of 1957 in the Beech Grove Hall of Fame. How about that?
I'm humbled by that. I had some amazing classmates who've done some terrific things, and my only regret is I haven't stayed closer to them through the years. but I hope I'm an adequate representative to Beech Grove High School for our class.
I don't know if Mr. Clevenger has shown you the Wall of Fame out there where all of the inductees are or not, but that's a...
I have not seen that.
Well, you need to see that before you go today. I know you got to get to the airport, so we want to get you out of here, but take a look at that. It's a pretty impressive array. And hey, congratulations to you.
Thanks for having me here
Thank you
today.
for your time.
I've enjoyed it.
I appreciate it. That's Duncan Murdoch, of course. He is the latest inductee into the Beech Grove Hall of Fame. Couple of notes for you, believe it or not. Christmas break is almost here, December 19th and 20th. Sorry, Mom and Dad, they're going to be home for a couple of weeks. We have final exams before that. We will dismiss at 11:52 on the 19th and 20th to mark the end of the semester. Time is flying by. We wish you all a happy and safe and joyous holiday season. Wiley Kraft handles the production duties for us. We also want to thank our assistant principal, Randy Clevenger, for his help in putting this Hornet Spotlight together. I'm Mark James. So long for now.